Welcome to MH Math Facts. Today we're going to talk about dividing fractions. To start out, let's look at a couple of real-life examples, a couple of story problems. This one says you have half a candy bar and you want to share it with 2 of your friends. This means there are 3 of you total. How big of a piece will everyone get? I found it's always helpful in this sort of problem to draw a picture. So here we have an entire candy bar drawn out, and half of it is marked. So let's go ahead and split that half of a candy bar into the 3 pieces that we want. And we're going to extend those lines into the other half of the candy bar so that it's like we're dividing up the entire thing. You can see that this splits it into 6 pieces if we were looking at a whole candy bar. So everyone would get 1/6 of a whole, a 1/6 size piece. Let's write that in an equation. We start out with 1/2, divide that by 3, and we discovered that equals 1/6. Let's try this again. This time we have 2/3 of a candy bar. You want to share with as many people as possible and decide the smallest size piece you can break off is a 1/12 of the whole. How many people can you share with? So here we have our 2/3, and the whole is represented by the larger rectangle. So let's split that whole thing into 12 pieces. Now when we look at the piece of the candy bar that we see that we have 8 pieces that are left out of the 12. So that means we can share with 8 different people. To write this as an equation, we say 2/3 divided by 1/12 equals 8. Now, this works well when we're looking at simpler examples, but when you have larger numbers, this isn't the most efficient way to divide fractions. So let's look at a way that's always going to work and be a little bit simpler. And this is called invert and multiply, or sometimes people will refer to it as copy dot flip. So I'm going to show you how to do it using these same examples. So we start out with 2/3 divided by 1/12. We're going to copy the first number, so 2/3, dot, which means multiply, and then flip the second number, which is 12/1. Now, this is really important. We're always going to copy the first number and flip the second number. We'll never do it in a different order than that. And that's why the phrase copy dot flip is so helpful, because it helps you remember the order that you're doing this in. So now we have a multiplication problem. We can simplify before we multiply here. So we can divide 12 by 3 and get 4, and that becomes a 1. So we end up with 8/1, which simplifies to 8. And that's the same answer that we got using our other method. Let's practice this copy dot flip or invert and multiply one more time. So we'll copy our 1/2 dot, and then we need to flip 3. Now, that might seem tricky since 3 is a whole number and not written as a fraction, but we can write it as a fraction simply by putting it over 1. We're just dividing by 1. That doesn't change the value of it. It's still 3. We can just see it as a fraction. So when we flip that, we have 1/3. Now we can multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. And we got the same answer that we got before. Let's try this one more time with maybe a little bit more complicated of an example, but we'll use the same exact process. So 49/50, we're copying that, and then dot, which means multiply, and flip. 12 over 7. Let's see if we can simplify anything before we try to multiply. 49 and 7, both are divisible by 7, so that's going to be a 1, that's going to be a 7, and 50 and 12 are both divisible by 2. So 50 divided by 2 is 25, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and now we can multiply straight across. 7 times 6 is 42, 25 times 1 is 25, and that's our answer. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and that's it for this video. See you next time.